Hi, everybody. We are live. Welcome to our Chamber Chats. Today's Chamber Chats is about Meet the Founders, and you have myself and Beth here. Beth is our board chair here at MSCC, and she's been involved with us since the very beginning of the Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce. And I'm the COO of the organization and one of the co-founders. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit about our own journeys as military spouses, as entrepreneurs, how us knuckleheads got in the same room and came up with the idea to put the chamber together. And we'll talk a little bit about upcoming events, how you can get involved in all of that. So I'll start by letting Beth tell her backstory and a little bit about her journey. I'll then follow and do the same. And then we can jump in and talk about what's going on at the chamber. Beth?
Thanks, Jamie. I'm so excited to be here to share maybe a different perspective of the chamber and sort of how, as you said, us knuckleheads all got together. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Beth Conlin. I'm an active duty Army spouse, and I'm currently the Senior Program Manager for Military Spouse Programs at Amazon. So you might be wondering, why would someone who works for Amazon be involved with entrepreneurial endeavors? And the truth is because through the journey of my military spouse career, at one point, entrepreneurship was the answer for me. I was exhausted from job hopping and taking titles up and down and sideways and unrelated to one another. And we were overseas, and the status of forces agreement was really putting some challenges in place. And so I decided, you know what? I'm not the only military spouse in this situation. It can't be. Discovered a huge network of highly qualified spouses that were in the same boat, frustrated, unemployed, or underemployed. And so myself and two other spouses got together and we started a small staffing agency called Serving Talent. We from the ground up started, all of us were overseas. I was in Germany, they were in Santiago, Chile. For 4 years, we worked on this from a distance. I then moved to South Korea and still continued to try and build the business, research, gather the data to help tell the story of military spouse employment. So I've not only experienced it myself of using entrepreneurship as a solution, but I've also seen how impactful it can be to other military spouses. So when I came back from overseas and re-entered the corporate workforce again, and the opportunity to continue to work around the military spouse employment space presented itself in a different way. It wasn't about traditional employment. It was about empowering the spouses again to own their career journey with Jamie and Stephanie to form the chamber. I couldn't say no. And really it came out of a working group. Myself and Jamie and Stephanie were working on a separate issue around empowering military spouse employment, but around DoD challenges. And Stephanie had kind of turned to us and said, we really need to have a military spouse chamber. And to be honest, I thought there was one. Why wouldn't there be, right? And was my response to Stephanie is, well, there is one, right? And she kind of laughed and said there wasn't. And without hesitation, Jamie and I were like, we're in. What do we need to do? Let's solve this problem. So because of my role at Amazon, I am happy to be the board chair of this organization. And I've been beyond thrilled with the growth we've experienced so far and the outpouring of support that's come in. So it's a little bit about sort of how a traditional employment spouse with a background in entrepreneurship got to be a part of the chamber. Jamie, I think you also have a unique perspective to how this worked.
Yes, and perfect timing with the dogs barking. So I will take the floor. So you might also hear my child in background. His nursery is across the hall and my nanny's over there with him. So if there's noises, don't worry. He's being taken care of. So I am also an entrepreneur currently. I came from a similar background as Beth. I work in sort of the human capital space. I've done HR, recruitment, and that whole shebang. So my own business is a staffing agency as well. 2020, we took a hit and I had a lot of bandwidth to get involved with extracurricular activities that I normally don't have the bandwidth to do. And so that's how I ended up with Stephanie. And we were all working together on a military spouse entrepreneur task force headed up by the Army Chief of Staff's spouse, Maria McConville. Maria got us all together. And that's kind of how, I had already known Stephanie. I knew of Beth, but we didn't all meet each other until this task force was put together. And then that's kind of when Stephanie had pitched the idea to Beth and I. My own journey, I started out in, working with special needs adults in a vocational program, then doing HR and recruitment. And then after marrying my soldier, I had served in the Army myself in the reserves, separated, and not long after married my husband. So I can't seem to get very far from the military. After marrying my soldier, I realized how hard keeping a career was. And I was a defense contractor working for the Army's TAP program, Transition Assistance Program. And I got a joke, but I'm so serious. I got promoted thrice and laid off twice. And after the second time I got laid off, I just went for it and I started my own business, sort of writing resumes for my friends, which then morphed over time into what it is today in staffing. And then, 2020 happened. We all got together, and then here we are launching the chamber on January 1st. So what I'd like to kind of do now is talk about our mission and what we do and who we are and who we serve. And then after kind of a brief introductory note on the Military Spouse Chamber, we can give you kind of some updates about what we have coming up next. So Beth, do you want to introduce the chamber a little bit to everyone?
Yes. So the U.S. Military Spouse Chamber of Commerce is the first business resource for entrepreneur-minded military spouses. And what I think is one of the more exciting elements of it is we cast a wide net around entrepreneurship. So if you own a business that makes or sells something, you're an entrepreneur. If you are a freelancer who's consulting for multiple clients, you're also an entrepreneur. So we don't cap it at B2B or B2C or goods-based by any means. And we reach out to the entire military spouse network. So a lot of chambers will say, like with the women-owned and the veteran-owned, that it has to be owned by 51% of that thing to be part of that chamber. Military spouse chamber, it's 50-50. If you've got one owner who's a military spouse and one that's not, you are a military spouse owned business. So, and the reason that is because military spouses face unique challenges that non-military spouses don't. For example, PCSing. How do you move your business across state lines? Do you need to worry about anything? What do you do? We have all of the resources for you to help educate you and get you established. We have everything from, I think I want to be an entrepreneur. How do I determine if this is right for me, all the way to I'm a revenue generating, super successful, and I need more contacts and more. So we're looking for this to be a full-fledged chamber that provides resources and information and training, as well as B2B and B2C connections to help military spouse entrepreneurs thrive.
Another thing, our flagship service offering is the Military Spouse Owned Enterprise Certification. And for those of you who have no idea what I just said, that means if you think, veteran-owned business, woman-owned business, minority-owned business, for the first time in history, we've created a military spouse-owned business certification. And what this does for our space, for our military spouse business owners, is it legitimizes the military spouse-owned business, and it gives us as the chamber a tool and a modality to go out and advocate for you and what you need. And so we really encourage you, if you're a military spouse business owner or somebody that knows this space very well and you know of some issues that the military spouse business owner goes through, please reach out to us and let us know what you're going through. In doing some of these certifications, I've come across issues I didn't think of. For example, we like to hire other military spouses if we own our own business, but military spouses kind of live everywhere, and it makes it an HR nightmare. And it also gives people problems when it comes to insuring their employees. And so there's things that have came up already in just the past month or so that we had no idea were even problems. And so now we have the ability as a 501c6 nonprofit to advocate for you and to be the voice for you. And we want to be the home where you take these issues and then you know that it's going to be represented for you. That said, I want to talk about some upcoming stuff that we have going on. And other ways that you can get involved as well. So upcoming things, we are doing these chamber chats pretty regularly. We also have the ability for you to volunteer. You do not have to be a military spouse, but you do kind of have to be a fan of military spouses and want to be in support of them. So if you're interested in getting involved in those ways, please let us know. And then additionally, there's the opportunity, if you are a corporation or a business, to recognize our certification and to track your supplier diversity spend with military spouse-owned businesses. Beth, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, what I think one of the more exciting elements as someone from the traditional business space a lot of employers track their supplier diversity spend. So for example, they can report out at the end of the year that, X% of their spend went to minority owned or woman owned businesses. Now you can add military spouse owned to that. We have a lot of corporate partners that openly support the military community and the military spouse community, but they don't really have any way to show it other than working with nonprofits. And now they can literally show the financial support they're giving back to the small business community and the military spouse business community. So it's a process that's not unfamiliar to corporations. If they recognized women-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned, any other type of chamber certification, it's the exact same process. The way that we qualify a military spouse business is just as stringent as the other more established chambers. So by adding that new character of military spouse owned, not only can they track that diversity spend, but they can also see the intersectionality of the military spouse group. We can see which military spouses are also women owned and minority owned and probably veteran owned as well, which just really helps tell the full story of the value that military spouses bring to the workforce, whether it's entrepreneurship or traditional employment.
I'm muted. That happens every single time, never fails during any kind of thing like this. So you're right. And doing these certifications myself, I have seen almost every individual that comes through has checked off additional boxes on their, diversity categories. As 90% plus of military spouses are women, they almost all check the military spouse plus woman-owned block. A number of our certified businesses are also minority owned. And I know we have one male that owns a business as well. Just excited about that because there's not very many men that in our military spouse space, but we want to include you and make sure that you're represented. Another thing I forgot to talk about, which is super cool, we consider this a very sacred space. And so if you know some very high achieving individuals that might be a good fit to become an honorary, to sit on our honorary board of advocates. These are individuals who perhaps maybe represent one of those diverse categories and do some advocacy work in their space, or people who are very well versed in their area of maybe entrepreneurship or business. We have abilities to bring your expertise to our advocacy work. And so if you know somebody that might be a good fit, drop them in the comments, recommend them to us. We want to hear who you've got in mind that might be able to kind of take their wellspring of knowledge and apply it to the military spouse business owner to kind of help us advocate for them better. That said, I want to also kind of touch on a couple more things. Ways you can get involved. Obviously, we're a nonprofit. We always welcome financial support. You can hire a military spouse-owned enterprise through our B2B opportunity board. You can think of it as a job board, but we're not helping military spouses get traditional jobs. We want to connect corporations to a small business that they can hire. Additionally, we have deemed 2021 the year of the military spouse entrepreneur. And there's a whole press kit and media graphics and things like that you can download if you want to get involved with that movement. Hannah is watching and she will drop the link in the comments. I believe the link is millspousechamber.org/2021 millspousebiz. Not that that's easy to remember, but Hannah will drop it in the comments for us. So yeah, those are some other ways you can get involved. And I want to just put this message out there. If you've already signed up as a member of the Military Spouse Chamber, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Also, check your email. That's how we primarily communicate with you. And I know from our email provider that some of them are hitting spam and some of them are hitting the promotions folder. And so if you feel like you're poking around in the dark and you don't know what to do with the chamber, it's probably because you're missing our communications. So I just wanted to put that note out there. I'm going to put myself on mute. Beth, if there's anything you'd like to add, please feel free to do that now. But I'm going to scroll all of these comments we're getting and see if we have any questions.
Sure. Yeah, I think in addition to that, we have some super exciting events planned for this year. If you are all familiar with Tony Robbins, you might want to check our upcoming events to see what we've got going on in his sphere that's very exciting. So I don't think we've touched on this. The goal of the chamber was not to reinvent the wheel. We are aware that there are really fantastic resources for mil-spouse business owners and entrepreneurs out there. The chamber gives another level of giving us a seat at the table. without having formal representation, we really were just sort of shouting into a void. And so now anytime, we can now work with the SBA, more cohesively around initiatives for military spouse-owned businesses. We're not turning away from the current resources that exist from other organizations out there. Actually, we welcome them because trust us, we don't want to rebuild them either. And a lot of the other resources out there have been proven to be incredibly helpful. So think of this more, this is sort of the umbrella for all of the military spouse entrepreneur things to sit under, as well as the megaphone to help really give it a voice with policymakers and legislators across the country.
And I was looking through the comments. I don't see any questions, but I welcome you, whether you're watching this now live or later after it's over, drop a comment, tag myself or Beth in the comments. That way we see your question, and feel free to ask us now or anytime. Additionally, this streams, it's going to multiple places. It's on our Facebook page. It's on LinkedIn, on my Jamie Chapman page, and we also have it on YouTube. So this is here. If you forgot something we said and you need to go back and do the replay, you're welcome to do that also. And I just thank you, Beth, for your time today and coming on and chatting with everyone. This has been a great little chat. And keep your eyes peeled on our events. That way you can see everything else we have coming up. We have an upcoming chamber chat with a trademark and intellectual property attorney. We have another upcoming event that's a Tony Robbins strategy session, which is really cool. One of his 5 business strategists is going to teach the members of the chamber, and you're welcome to join and look at those events and things like that on our website. We have a drop down that says a number of things we have going on, our opportunity board, our community events, our business directory for spouses and things like that. So please feel free to poke around our website. And if you have any questions, ask them. All right. So we are going to close out. Thank you so much, Beth.
Thanks, Jamie. Take care, everyone.